Here's the thing about real men. Real men are not threatened by strong women.
Is it that they're threatened or is it that they're just kind of annoyed? Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about a highly debated topic, which is independent women. Do men love it? Or do they hate it? Or do they fall somewhere in the middle? Before I hit play, guys, remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you to all of you guys that already follow me. We just hit the 900K mark last week. That is huge. So thank you for being here. With that being said, I have a video today to break down to you guys because at face value, when you watch this woman speak, it doesn't sound too bad. Like it sounds very reasonable. But we're going to break it down into the reality of it and how it plays out in relationships based on how men function and how men think versus how women think.
Here's the thing about real men. Real men are not threatened by strong women. They're turned on by it.
I have to disagree with the first point that she makes, which is that men get turned on by like a very strong woman. I don't think that that's necessarily something that turns a man on. I think that's actually what turns a woman on. Like a woman that sees a very independent man that is successful, that's a turn on for a woman. But this is where she is projecting onto men the way that she thinks. Because men get turned on, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. But I'm pretty sure that they get turned on by a woman's physical appearance. I think that they get turned on by a woman's softness and kindness and caring nature that makes them feel like they are loved and cared for. They get turned on by a woman's admiration, by a woman that does want to be a partner and absolutely can contribute. But that's kind of like down the line, that kind of makes them fall in love with her and motivates him to want to build a life with her. But as far as like generic dating and what turns a man on, it is, I'm sorry, ladies, it tends to be more of the other things that I already mentioned.
A lot of men don't like strong women because it requires them to be real men. Real men are not scared of your independence. They encourage it. They're proud of it.
Does it require them to be real men, or does it make it difficult for them to get value from what they typically get value from, which is being a contributing partner and being somebody that is at least equal to his partner that's contributing and not being put down? See, what women get wrong a lot of times is when they have overcorrected and they are super strong, super independent to the point where they don't allow a man to help them. And then a man enters in and he's looking at her like, well, what is it that I can give to her? I mean, he's capable of giving things to her. He knows that about himself. The problem is that she is not willing to accept his help. So at that point, he feels like, what is he there for other than to just stand by her side?
Because strong women don't need saving. We need somebody who's going to match our energy and grow with us.
The growing piece is good. Like that's a solid thing in a relationship, to be able to be partners and to help each other grow in different areas. However, the problem comes when that strong and independent woman is literally trying to be strong and independent and best at every single category. And that unfortunately is just the reality when men are meeting a woman like this. She literally does everything for herself and she's not allowing him in at any point. For example, if she's a woman that is really good at her career, she has a good career, she makes a lot of money, and then her car breaks down a week after she starts dating somebody. This man is very good with cars. Like he can absolutely fix her car. But she says no. She's just going to pay the dealership like she usually does in order to get her car fixed because, well, she has the money to do that. She is not allowing him space to help her. So not only does he not get to contribute like he wants to, but let's just say that he knows that this mechanic that she's going to is not the best at his job, okay? He's going to do something wrong with that car. And then that's the other point that he's trying to make. But she still decides to go to that mechanic, okay? That's a level of disrespect. She doesn't appreciate his opinion and she doesn't value his opinion over her own opinion because, well, she thinks that she knows because, well, she did well in her career and she makes a lot of money. So she must know best about everything. So I'm really trying to have you guys see what's happening in a man's mind when this is all occurring. It's not that he is insecure himself, right? This man is a secure man that knows his skills and he's very good at what he does. But the problem is that when he is attached to her, he's in a relationship with this type of woman, he doesn't feel that way because she is questioning him. She's not respecting him. So she is essentially not making him feel good by being with her. That is not what a man wants.
The good ones don't get intimidated, they get inspired. Like you tell them your life goals and they're like, okay, boss lady, I'll drive, you manifest.
That is only if that woman is really good at allowing that man to help her with things that she's not an expert in. And of course, there's going to be some overlapping things where she thinks that she knows best and he thinks that he knows best. But if she has this mindset that's typical of a strong and independent woman that a lot of men have experienced, is that she is going to really need to go with her own opinion. She's not going to want to listen to him, and that's the problem. Because the trap that these women fall into is that they think that them shining requires pushing that man down.
See, the good men get it because they don't feel less than when you shine. They're the ones holding the spotlight. The confidence is unmatched. They're not jealous, they're secure. You walk into a room looking good, they're like, that's my girl. And that's the kind of guy you want. That's why I hate the saying, strong women build weak men, because it couldn't be further from the truth. There's nothing sexier than a man who is secure in himself and wants his girl to shine.
Men, absolutely. They love to see a woman excel in her career or in her raising of children, in motherhood, in any aspect that she wants to spend her time in. Men absolutely are proud of their woman when she's excelling in that area, because let's face it, what happens is that she becomes fulfilled and she is happy and she's radiant, and men absolutely love that. But the thing that men have really mastered over decades of being like in that primary role of being a primary provider is that they have allowed respect to go both ways. They respect their wives for having a voice in the family, in the union. Even though he's the one providing all of the income of the household, he still respects his wife. He still allows her to play a role in the partnership because that is what is needed. Like, he has found out through decades of his grandfather, his grandfather's father, like, that is necessary to have a healthy, strong relationship and a happy relationship. But the problem is that women haven't really discovered that yet. They haven't found that out. They have already overcorrected so that there's a lot of women that are making way more money than men. There's way more women that are successful than the men that they are dating. But these women, they don't know how they need to still give respect to a man, even though they're making a lot more money. And we're seeing there is difficulty there because a lot of these women will still want a man to pay for their dates. They still want the man to plan the dates. They still want the man to really take on a lot of those traditional roles, but without giving him the same amount of respect and partnership that a man was willing to give a woman. And I might get in trouble for saying that, but I think that is what's happening here, is that women just haven't learned the way. And it's a little bit different than how women were back then, right? Because men can still like provide for themselves. They can still have a very solid career, but they could just decide to remain single. They could decide like many different paths of finding a relationship in a non-traditional way. They can find ways to satisfy their needs without getting into a full-on marriage. So it's leading to a decline of relationships in totality, which is just what's happening. But on top of that, women like this are coming on, and some are subtle like this one, and some are not so subtle that I know I've shown you guys, where men are not correctly handling a strong and independent woman, and they start to like flip it on the man, and they say that, well, it's because the men are insecure and they don't know how to handle this type of woman and they're not real men, which is like the red flag for shaming. So From the beginning, guys, as I said, I knew that this video was going to go in a certain direction because she started off talking about real men. I'll be interested to know what you guys think. Leave it in the comments down below, and I hope you have a great week. I will see you next week.